Hi, and welcome to the Garden Fix. Today we are going to be starting annuals the winter sowing style. Hi, and welcome to the channel. I'm Kristen, and I'm in Western Pennsylvania, Zone 6B. So we're going to be starting annuals the winter sowing style. Now, this is the beginning of April, and obviously it's not going to be technically winter sowing, but the same idea implies of what the method that we're using is I have these big plastic containers that are essentially little mini greenhouses, and inside of them I have little small nursery containers. And after we sow the seeds today, they're going to get their lids on. They have plenty of drainage holes on the top and on the bottom. And then once they go outside, they're just going to get natural rainwater, and then I'll just keep an eye on them to make sure that in between rainfall, they don't dry out. And then when the weather is warm enough and the conditions are right, these seeds are going to wake up naturally. So it's a great space saver for inside of your house. You don't have to buy an elaborate grow light system, and waiting until this time of year for the annuals should give them plenty of time to wake up. These containers I really like in particular because they're very deep, so that they'll have a lot of overhead room even if they start to get up above their pots. And if we do have a frost between now and our average last frost date, with the covers on, they'll be protected and they will not be affected by the frost at all. If it gets really cold, then these containers are just easy enough to move under a covered porch or even inside the garage for the night. So let me just talk to you about what I've prepared so far. I have all of my little nursery containers here filled with pre-moistened potting mix. You don't have to buy anything special, but do make sure it's potting mix because seed starting mix will dry out way too quickly when it's outside and not being monitored every day. I have all my seeds laid out. I have all the labels prepared. I used a garden marker so that they won't wash off. And I have a spray bottle that I will use to water the seeds in once they're all finished. And one little extra accessory here, I believe this is called a dibber, but for the seeds that need to be lightly covered, I'm going to make a little hole with this guy and then use it also to push the soil back over the top. Okay. So when I get going with my seeds, I'm going to talk about what we're going to be planting today. But when I go through each individual planting process, I'm just going to look at the packet and be very mindful about if these seeds need to be either surface sown or if they need to be covered and how deep. Okay, so that's something that you want to make sure you pay attention for every individual seed packet that you do and not assume that one method is good for all. So let's take a look at what we have for the seeds. So if I start on this end and work my way in, I have a giant purple zinnia, which those should be really nice. Now let me see, how giant is giant? These are supposed to get 3 to 4 feet tall. So that should be pretty nice. That's almost as tall as the California giants. So next I have a couple of marigolds. So these are really cute dwarf bolero marigolds. Just your very classic looking marigold, but these guys stay pretty small, I assume, if they're a dwarf. They only get to 6 to 10 inches tall. And then I have a very interesting variety of marigold here. You can see they have very bold red and yellow stripes on them. And this is called Jolly Jester. And these get 20 to 24, so they're a nice kind of medium height marigold. Okay, and then next up is not a true marigold, even though it's called pot marigold. This is Calendula zeolites, and that has a very interesting kind of peach and pastel color to them. And I haven't grown calendula before, so I'm excited to have it in the garden. These look like they're going to be really nice. Okay, then I have a couple different cosmos. These ones are really pretty. These are called Seashells Blend. And they have very nice kind of pink and purple and white colors, and they actually have little fluted petals to them, so that should be nice. And then next up, a nice color complement. These are called Sensation Picotee, and these look like they have mostly white centers with a variation of either purple or magenta margins to them. And then we have a couple different coleus. So the first one, I don't have a picture for these, so I'll have to tell you about them after I tell you the name. These are called Wizard Velvet Red. And what it says about these is they have deep velvety red leaves. They're a compact variety, and they branch out a bit, and they get 12 to 14 inches tall. And so those should be really nice. And then the next one is Premium Sun Crimson Gold Coleus. And these get brilliant crimson leaves that are edged in a fine ribbon of gold. That sounds really pretty as well. Okay, next up, which is also a new one for our garden this year, is a Mexican sunflower. This is also called Tithonia, and this one's called Torch. And these plants get very tall. They get 4 to 6 feet tall, so kind of a nice complement to the zinnias. And then next up, I've never grown from seed before, but I am trying a petunia mix called Royalty. And those are really nice, bright colors. Okay, one that is a repeat from last year because they did so well and they were very pretty is a Gazania mix. So these are also called African daisies, and they have a very nice, bright, striped color to their petals. Then we have a celosia. I often call these the brainy celosias. This is Chief Red Flame. And those are also always fun, usually around Halloween is when you see them the most. Okay, another new flower for us this year is Crospedia, or otherwise known as drumstick flower. And they're these little yellow pom-poms that grow on these long stems that don't have hardly any leaves on them. So those should be really interesting. Then we have a sunflower from Johnny's that's called Buttercream. And these are almost a very kind of off-white sunflower. So those should be beautiful. And then I'm getting into a collection that I ordered from Floret this year. And the first one is a black-eyed Susan called Chim Chimney. And the description on the website and the photos of these, they have very long, kind of slender petals to make it look like they're a chimney broom. Next is Godetia. This is called Grace Salmon. I don't know a whole lot about these plants, but from the picture online, they were very pretty. So the description on this says, this abundant garden bloomer is loaded with at least a dozen long flower stems on each plant. Clusters of buds open in succession along the stems, revealing glowing coral salmon flowers. And Godetia is called satin flower because of the shimmering, silky quality of the flower petals. That sounds really exciting. Next is a corncockle called Ocean Pearls. And I'll read about this one. Long, delicate stems of this variety remind us of a tiny ballerina in the wind-up music box. Pointed, tightly swirled buds unfurl to reveal ethereal, feather-light blooms. Clean white flowers turn slightly downward with the tiny tan freckles. That sounds very different. And then next up is a dianthus or carnation called Chabad La France. And this one I remember, I think it was the color that really struck me. Echoing the seashell pink color of a cafe au lait dahlia, this delicate classic beauty has flowers in varying hues of creamy blush and baby pink. So that should be kind of a different dianthus than what we have in our yard already. Okay, getting down to the end here, we have a Kufia called Rose. So this is the hummingbird magnet plant because they have very long tubular shaped flowers and usually performs very well for us every year. Again, this is the first time I'm going to be trying this from seed because we usually purchase these at the nursery every year. And then I have a Nemesia called Orange Prince. And Nemesias are just very cheery little cool season annuals, so I'm excited about those. And then finally, we have a lupin blend here called My Castle. And these, I am pretty sure, are supposed to be tall red lupins, almost the color of scarlet is what it says on the package. And they get 40 inches tall, so those should be really nice as well. So I'm going to get started on these. I'm going to go through them in order, and I have my plant tags beside each one. And I'm going to fill these up. I'll kind of give you an overview of that process, and then we're going to close it up and put them outside. So let's get started. Okay, so these are all finished. They're ready to go outside on our porch. When I did my winter sowing and I put the containers out in the garden, I sat them on the mulch and I realized that was a bad idea because for the first time ever, I actually had slugs get inside and eat a lot of my emerging seedlings. So these are going on the porch and they're not touching any soil. So thank you so much for joining me today. Of course, we will keep you updated on the progress of these guys and hopefully get to see them planted out in the garden this summer. Until next time, I'll see you in the garden.